Heather, welcome to the show.
Hi, Nate.
So good to see you. I haven't seen you since April.
Since Bend.
We were in Bend, Oregon.
Yeah.
We were at the Geek Estate Mastermind.
Yeah, exclusive
where
event.
you
That was awesome.
schooled an entire room of investors and founders on do's and don'ts.
Of M&A.
On the M&A. It was really interesting to see, because I think that's their first time meeting, and genuinely I can say the attention of the room perked up.
Yeah.
We were in a little bit of a lull later in the day, multiple work sessions, and then you just started dropping bombs on everybody. And
I still had people coming to me from that day. Yeah.
Well, for everyone watching, if you don't know, this is Heather Harmon, 4-time founder, investor, advisor, most notably probably for having started RedDoor in 2018 and then had sold that to Opendoor just 3 years later. A force to be reckoned with, I would say. And
I don't know about that.
And you've started multiple different types of businesses, advising, investing across the board. I'm very curious from people who seem to continuously keep building, keep creating. Are there common threads you found as a founder or when you're advising other founders, threads in what other founders are doing that leads to success, whether it's proptech or other startups, but what are some of those things that maybe helps drive those who are likely to win?
Yeah, I love that question. And I'm in it again because I'm, incubating new ideas. So I'm stress testing against all the things I learned in the past. And I think that one thing is team. It's huge to know that you have synergy in your team and to be really clear about roles and responsibilities and how you're going to make decisions before you even start. And I think that's a mistake that a lot of startups make. In fact, according to a Harvard Business Review study, about 80% of startups fail due to issues between the founders. And so that's significant. And when you don't address those things up front, and I don't mean after you raise, before you raise. You
this
really
is
need to
premarital
sit down.
counseling.
This is you're getting married.
That's a business.
You've got to
Pre-founder
do this.
counseling.
Pre-founder counseling. I have a whole spreadsheet. I have a whole list of questions. I have a way to facilitate this conversation. And it's big. It's a big deal. And it needs to be written. It needs to be an operating agreement. You need to meet quarterly or even annually and review it and make sure that everything's still working for everybody. Because you're going to hit those moments where you are going to get in it, in the weeds, and you are going to lose time, you're going to lose resources, you're going to lose credibility with the rest of your team, you're going to make the wrong decision, or you're going to make it too late because you're stuck in the muck over even how to make the decision. And so I think that's something that I learned and I apply going forward in so many ways. And it really helps things move faster.
You're saying raising money doesn't simplify problems that already exist?
It amplifies them. Yeah, and the more money, you get to Series A and things are just on fire. If there's problems, by the time you get to Series A, things are going to get on fire. Yeah.
I would agree. I mean, at least from my experience, one of the things I've always leaned into when building marketing teams is the systems and processes. It's not just how we do things, but why we do them and the ordering of them and how we make those decisions guided by some sort of agreed upon philosophy for the department that kind of determines how we're going to make those decisions, and it really gets everyone on that same playing field. So nothing is ever coming out of the blue or from around the corner that you never saw coming, because why we're saying a certain thing or doing a certain thing, especially when it comes to rituals or that sort of thing. Yeah. Let's jump into proptech.
All right.
You got a little bit on your website, this idea of real estate 3.0.
Yeah.
And I want to hear from you, what is that? What does that look like? What should that be? And this is intentionally broad.
Yeah.
So I don't want to guide the witness here. You can take it however you wish.
Okay. Well, to me, 3.0 is a world where we're focused around the consumer. And the majority of how we've built real estate models from both the business operating, all the vendors, is we're always thinking about how to monetize against the agent or the commodity of the service being delivered, right? And so 3.0 is about the consumer. And we're in a world where the consumer with a capital C is the relevant party in the room. And if we're not building for them and we're not thinking about that as the primary driving factor of how we're making decisions, I think we're failing. So that to me is 3.0.
This kind of fits with a handful of other themes that, like in the rental space, the explosion of the use of tenant experience.
Yeah.
I've looked at this at Google Trends, and I don't know, sometimes I don't really believe what Google Trends is telling me, but it's not a phrase that's been used for a very long time, because it was always about what did the property manager need, what did the owner need. It just so happened to be that there was renters.
Yeah.
But the tenant experience has improved. So I think, that's kind of in line with the consumer experience here.
It's the same. And I think in the property management world, I have a huge background in property management also. So back when I was doing it, we didn't care about the tenant experience at all. But if you ever looked at the reviews or ratings of any management companies or any, both
they're the ones
smaller,
leaving the reviews.
And they were terrible. They were absolutely terrible.
I think Yelp's average for property management nationwide.
What is 1 star?
No, we'll give them a little more credit. I think it was like a 2.3 or something like that. It's been a few years since I looked up what that was, and I was in a conversation with my buddy Chuck over at Poplar Homes. But it's not. It just demonstrates like there's a lot to be desired here for many reasons. That is. So practically speaking, like if we're looking at the broker services, we're looking at property management, we're looking at lending to the consumer.
Yep.
What are the big wins that are, maybe they're obvious, maybe they're not obvious, but what are the big wins to be had here?
Well, if we're looking across residential, and you mentioned mortgage as well, we have right now scrutiny over residential transaction level real estate. I think what's coming next is scrutiny over referrals. I think that's either going to be paralleled or followed by mortgage, and that we're going to see a compression in compensation overall, and that the roles and responsibilities of the parties who are delivering these services is going to be redefined, significantly redefined, both in real estate brokerage and mortgage brokerage. And so how we're doing the work is going to be defined. It doesn't matter how much value we assign to those things today. The consumer is going to demand something different, and we're going to innovate technology. I mean, a lot of it's already here. It just isn't applied in the right ways. And those efficiencies are going to come across both of those work streams. So those to me are opportunities for anybody who's willing to pick up and be willing to go against the grain right now in terms of how things have always been done. But that, again, to me is 3.0.
Now, I want to talk about something that happened at another event. I wasn't there, sadly. The 1,000-watt conference. You presented a hypothetical modern brokerage. So my understanding is there was not really budget constraints, and if you could build what you wanted, this is what you would build. Can you briefly describe or give an overview of the brokerage that you concepted?
So, first of all, I have to say, I saw this as a segment coming up for the 1,000-watt conference that was in June. And I thought to myself, oh, that's so cool. I actually want to go to the show just to see that. And about 3 days later, I get a call from Brian, and he says, Heather, I have a question for you. Would you be willing to help me on this little thing I'm going to do at the conference? And I said, oh my God, Brian, are you kidding me right now? You're picking me? I go, do you know who I go, am I allowed to be myself? And he said, absolutely. I go, because I'm controversial. He goes, I want you to be controversial. So that's how we started. And Brian committed to me that we could be controversial.
That's awesome.
And so we built a concept called Avanti, and we launched that at the 1,000-watt Dallas event, which was fantastic. And the idea was that we're not doing a brokerage in the traditional sense, but we're also not doing a flat fee discount sort of opportunity of just sort of taking this moment of, buyers need a different form of representation. The idea is a firm. And basically, if you're going to get professional services, you're going to go to the people who have the expertise, and you're going to pay appropriately for that service. And so it was a fantastic launch debut of our fictitious brokerage. I think some people thought it was real. We had a lot of people afterwards like, like trying to Google it and look it up on, because we had a beautiful website that Brian's amazing team put together all the branding and built a website, did a logo. So it was really cool. And then Brian sent me a hat with the logo on it, because I love hats. And so I have my Avanti hat. I didn't bring it this week, but yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
I want to wrap up here. You're involved in many different ways throughout the industry, but you've also been kind of tackling some ways of like kind of unplugging, pulling back. And I'm someone, I tend to believe in this. I spend a lot of time in the woods, as many people have learned, and I rode my motorcycle here. So I had 2 days of
You did
time.
it to Bend, too.
I did.
Yeah, I was so worried about you when you were driving home.
The difference of riding here was when I rode to Bend,
Better
the
weather.
highest temperature was like 42 degrees.
Yeah.
And I didn't have any snow, freezing rain, or freezing fog to deal with on this trip. So that was really nice. But I want to hear more about some of the things that you're doing to unplug and you're taking others with you on some of these journeys.
Yeah, I spent the last year and a half really unplugging myself from the pace of what I pushed through to build the companies that I built, and then all of those things. So what I've learned is that stillness is the place where I plug into my creativity. Yeah. And to get to that place is actually a quality of life. And so I have been, I've always been a student of yoga. I've been studying yoga, and I actually... You
have your own studio.
I bought studios where I live. I
Multiple
bought the
locations.
Best studios in Northern California, I believe. And I am so in love with that business, and also getting to play with small business is another really fun game to play. Yeah. But aside from that, I've been diving into breath work, deepening my meditation practice. Like you said, being in nature, I think that's a huge part of that ability to connect, because that's the essence of life, essentially.
Yeah.
And it's what matters. And so when we're always doing, and we're always pushing, and we're always on, and we always have notifications going off, and we're in that stream constantly, we miss the information that's coming in that actually is going to elevate our outcomes, right? Yep. So because I'm so passionate about this now, I've arranged for taking a group to Maui, and we have a whole experience planned for them there with an incredible yoga. I'm not a yoga teacher. I have an incredible leader who's coming for yoga, for breath work, for meditation. So we're going to really apply those skills, but in the context of entrepreneurship. So everybody there will be entrepreneur business leaders. And then with Geek Estate, our friend Drew and I are taking a group to walk the Camino. And we're doing that in May.
And that's in Spain.
That is in Spain. Yep. And so we'll be walking the last 100 kilometers into Santiago.
Woo.
And we'll do about 5 stops in various villages along the way, sit down, have amazing meals and wine, and just collaborate. And that will be all with proptech people.
That's awesome. Yeah. Heather, thank you for joining me. Lastly, for those who want to get in touch with you, where do they go? How do they do that?
You can find me on LinkedIn, Heather A. Harmon, or my website, heather-harmon.com.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We'll see you around.
Thanks, Nate.